Hey everyone, I'm Chris, and welcome to Awaken Yoga. Yoga with purpose. Yoga your way. This is a short warm up to get your body moving and feeling great as you flow into however you want to build your day. Can you start with your feet hip distance apart, toes pointing to the front of the room? And then from here, lift up your 10 toes and roll them open to grip the floor or your mat, bringing strength up through your legs. Let your tailbone gently point towards the ground, lengthening out your spine as you raise your hands and open them forward and down to roll your shoulders back. And I think this feels freaking amazing to start my day because I type and I'm stuck at a desk most days, and this is just a great way to start, opening up and down. Hands then come all the way up to the sky on your inhale and exhaling through your nose, bringing your heart down to heart center. Let's just set a nice intention for the day. And my intention is just gratitude for today. And gratitude that I get to do a job that I love. I've got a family that I adore. Hands opening all the way back down and back into your mountain pose or Tadasana. One more cycle through. Hands coming up to the sky on your inhale. Exhale, hands coming back down and through to heart center. And now I'd like you to come all the way down onto hands and knees onto the ground. And we're just going to do a couple of cycles of our cat-cows, making sure our shoulders are stacked over our wrists and our hips are over our knees. Let's bring that spine forward. And then exhaling, articulating all the way back up and through, bringing out as much energy up as feels nice. Inhale, coming back. And make sure our shoulders are drawing through to the front of the room, chest is opening, and exhaling, coming back through. Now as you come through, make it a bit more dynamic. Our bodies don't just move in one simple way. They move organically. They move animalistically. So move around and see what feels nice for you today. Is there an area that feels a little bit stuck? Is there an area that you think you need to focus on? Just see what your body is telling you today and how you feel. And it may be that you want to turn your hands out to the side of the mat so you can roll around a little bit, waking up those wrists. If you sit at a desk all day, you don't often put pressure on your wrists like this. So it can be a nice way just to wake them up. Normally my fingers are just stuck typing. Bringing your hands to point to the back of the room, maybe this feels nice for a couple of openings through here. Coming back up through on your inhale. And then when we come back to our neutral position, turning our hands to face the front of the room if they weren't already, tucking our toes, and let's come up and back and into downward facing dog. And keeping a generous bend into our knees here will preserve that nice flat back that we're working towards in our Tadasana pose. Tailbone lengthening up to the sky and shoulders rolling back and down. And that you might want to keep that bend in the knees for most of this practice. Or if you're starting to feel it later, you can lengthen them out. It's up to you as long as you're not feeling too much pressure through your hamstrings. And coming up to your toes, let's just walk all the way up and through. Feet hip distance apart. Coming up to a half lift where our fingertips might come just below the knees. And exhaling down and into a forward fold. Now your hands can grip your elbows if that feels nice, or they might come to the ground. You might want to keep that bend in your knees to preserve your back for the first little while so that you can just wake everything up. And when you're ready, or if you feel like it, you can move to something that's a little bit straighter. But again, this is early, potentially, the first thing you've done, so you may not get there first thing. It may not be in your wheelhouse today, and that's fine. Yoga is not an aesthetic, it's about a feeling. On your next inhale, let's roll the spine all the way up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Coming up with our hands all the way up to the sky, fingertips touch gently down past our heart, and opening back as we roll those shoulders down and into our Tadasana pose. Hold here, lengthening our tailbone down to the ground. Let's just do a couple of sun salutes to wake up the rest of the body. Hands come all the way up to the sky, fingertips touch, coming down and through our heart center as we fold generously and gently all the way over our legs, coming up to our fingertips. First one, let's step back to plank pose and hold our plank pose for a moment. Shoulders over wrists, keeping our abs switched on, feeling our body engaged, legs engaged, heels pointing to the back of the room. And then coming all the way down, elbows tucked in next to the body as we land on the ground. Untuck your toes and gently come up into Cobra Pose, lengthening the spine and not too much pressure in your hands. Exhaling down. Inhaling back to Cobra Pose. And what would it feel like to lift your hands to make sure that you're engaging your back here and strengthening your muscles of your back to help build strength to reduce lower back pain? Exhaling down. Inhaling back up to Cobra Pose. And one last time. And lengthening out here and exhaling back down to the ground. Toes tuck, and we're going to press up through plank pose, hinge at the hips, and come back and into downward facing dog. And stepping out our dog. Feeling that energy here, feeling the strength of our stabilizing pose. And then coming up to your toes, step, hop, skip, or teleport to the top of the mat, feet hip distance apart as we raise into our halfway lift. And exhaling, folding all the way down. Inhaling, coming all the way back up, fingertips touch above our head, and down through heart center, opening into Tadasana pose. Inhaling, fingertips up to the sky. Exhaling, hands through, and folding all the way down. Halfway lift on your inhale. Hands plant, and step or float back. Chaturanga, potentially coming up and through into upward facing dog if it feels good. Legs off the ground, thighs off the ground to preserve your lower back. And exhale over the toes and back to downward facing dog. And 2 breaths here. Lengthen that tailbone up to the sky. Heels might point closer to the ground. And roll those shoulders back. Up to tippy toes. And on the next exhale, hop, skip, teleport to the top of the mat. Halfway lift on your inhale. And exhale all the way down. Inhale, hands up to the sky. Fingertips touch. And hands back down by your side. Opening to Tadasana. And one more time through. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, forward, fold, all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back to plank pose. Inhale through. No. Let's cut it. Okay, here. Fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, hands plant down and float back. To Chaturanga, plank pose, coming through and up into upward facing dog. And exhale, all the way back into downward facing dog. And stabilize here. Feel that energy building up. Feel your body starting to warm up. And then coming up to your toes and slowly lowering your knees down to the ground and sitting back into hero's pose. So thank you for warming up with me. This is just the start of your day, and hopefully you can find another part of your journey in the next playlist to continue it on. Thank you, and namaste.